me just add, before I go into this, one of the best things you can do, don't just honor the people who are doing the hard work. Figure out how you can engage with them. Stacy Shea joins us now on the line. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
I want to start off with this story. How did we find out about this effort in Pickens County to basically subvert the party process?
So it was really big news when it hit, but like so many things, there's an explosion of news that goes on, and then it sort of fades into the background. A lot of the local activists were up in arms about what had happened and really upset, and then nobody seemed to talk about it. But because there are people in the delegation who actually did this and made these huge efforts to import Democrats into the Pickens County GOP, I think that the people who are going to be casting their votes should probably know who did this, how, and why.
Well, fill in those blanks for us.
So it was a concerted effort by Neal Collins, as I understand it, and the article has a copy of the email that he sent to the people he was going to be working in conjunction with, and to some extent Senator Larry Martin as well, and Davey Hyatt, who, after their plan fell apart, sent a letter complaining to the state party, who resoundingly told them they had no footing here. So what they tried to do was, instead of having the people who they wanted to be seated and recognized come to the reorganization meeting, as is protocol in the rules, they had them come the evening of the convention and demand that they be recognized and seated. And that is not the way it goes. They have to be published. The names of the people have to be published. So nobody had access to the names of these people until they actually showed up the evening of the convention. And if you look at the article, it was their plan to unseat the existing leadership in the party and place themselves there. And they wanted to use this list of people who, of course, we do not have registration by party in this state, so we can't really tell if they're Democrats or Republicans. But what we can do is look into who their financial donations were made to when it comes to politics. And a great number of them had a history of donating to Organizing for America, to Barack Obama, to Hillary Clinton. So I really don't think that these are the people that Pickens County Republicans would identify with as representing their wishes in the party.
Hardly. This story, as you mentioned, this came out last year. And what's intriguing about this, and I'm glad you mentioned this, is, it can be very easy in an off-election year for people to completely forget about it. That was a year ago. That's ancient history for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is now is the time to remember this because it reveals something about the heart of the people involved in this. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes. So this is really the goal and aim of Neal Collins, apparently, and to some extent, Senator Larry Martin, who, quite honestly, he seems like a pretty nice guy when you meet him, but behind the scenes, he's undermining his constituents. He's talking in his ads about he's championed Senate Bill 3 as anti-domestic abuse, but in reality, he's aligning himself with New York's Mayor Bloomberg on the gun grab. And he's talking about the coal ash dump and how he's a leader for stopping that. And I don't really know how much moral courage it takes to protect the constituents that you represent from a coal ash dump being in their community. That's just not that big of a deal. I don't know that I would be bragging about that. He's, one of the big things that we're hearing from the people is that the school there in Pickens County is underfunded. The state owes them $2,800 per student, and they're only funding it to $2,400 per student. So it's putting the school board there in a really bad position where they're going to have to ask to raise taxes on people that, quite frankly, shouldn't be asked to pay for that. It's just not fair the way that he's not representing them well in Columbia. We've spent a lot of time working on these issues, and we've gotten a behind-the-scenes look at things, and, Senator Martin is not really what he's saying he is.
And this gets to the heart of something I think is really important, Stacy, and how often we have what are called campaign conservatives. You know, they will advertise and they will go out on the stump and talk about how conservative they are and what they believe in. But the reality is, behind the scenes, they're doing something entirely different.
Absolutely. So I can tell you a great example of that. There has been a bill, American Laws for American Courts, which would protect our state from Sharia law being recognized. And 2 years ago, this bill was introduced, and what he had said to his constituents was that he couldn't support it, that it solved a problem that we don't have. And then this year, when he's going to be facing 3 challengers, he sings a different tune where he says, it's a done deal, it's sort of a no-brainer, and he went ahead and voted for it this time around. So you see a very different legislator when they're facing challengers, and like you said, they're campaign conservatives, but Senator Martin has been in office since Ronald Reagan was president, so we definitely have some time that we can go back and see what his true values are based on how he operates in the Senate.
Well, I appreciate the perspective you've brought to this on a couple of issues. Stacy, Shea, I appreciate your hard work out there, and thanks a lot for coming on the program. I look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you for having me, Vince. Take care.
Let me just add, before I go into this, one of the best things you can do, don't just honor the people who are doing the hard work. Figure out how you can engage with them.